All right, everyone. So today we're going to talk about voicing tips, exercises, and script marking. So some of this you're not necessarily going to need for your class podcast, but if you decide to continue on with podcasting in the future, you may want to pay attention. So successful voicing. So honestly, there's a lot that goes into voicing. There's a lot of things you can do to prepare. But really, to me, the biggest thing is just making sure that you sound conversational. That's going to be really, really important. So I'm going to stress that in the beginning because I do feel it is really, really important to keep in mind. So there are a lot of podcast hosts. They come from really the world of broadcasting, whether it be radio or television. And there's a lot that goes into radio. So you're going to kind of get a little bit of a taste with doing your podcast of what goes into like a radio talk show, essentially with this big podcast that we're doing. So things that you should not do for a taped live interview: avoid eating dairy beforehand, so like yogurt or anything like that, just because it does create excess phlegm or mucus that could cause a lot of in your presentation. Anything like nuts or snack foods that could irritate your throat just beforehand, just again, it could cause a lot of moments where you have to clear in your throat just to keep it moving. So it's just suggested. So too much caffeine, or I do have alcohol because I do have some adult students in the class, but those things, they could dry out your throat, cause you to need to take a drink more often, coughing, raising your blood pressure, which could cause more anxiety in your presentation. So if you are feeling anxious, here's my biggest thing. Anytime I was getting ready to go live on a broadcast, whether it be radio or TV, just kind of, you could warm up your vocals. But to me, the biggest thing is taking a deep breath. And I know it sounds really, really lame, but really it did. For me, it helped me a lot to just take a moment and take a deep breath. I would close my eyes and take a deep breath just to kind of focus on what I was about to do. So having a bottle of water that's at room temperature. You don't want anything too cold. So room temperature is suggested. I've never done the book, your textbook suggests drinking warm water with lemon or honey. I've never done any of those, but if it will help you relax and help your vocal cords relax, it's suggested. So there's warm up exercises you could do. There's the text has a lot of really, to me, I think kind of funny things, just some little things that you can say just to kind of get those vocal cords going. So I'm not going to expect you to do them, but if it will help you, go for it. So really, here's the biggest, most important thing to me in this presentation is try to be natural. You want to keep in mind, you're just having a conversation with another person. That's really important to remember. And when you're having a conversation with your friends, you don't normally sound like a robot. You don't sound scripted. You don't sound like you're reading things. It's natural. So that's something you really want to kind of do. So beforehand, before you start the recording process, especially if it's someone you don't know too well, establish some kind of rapport with them, kind of get the conversation started. That can take the ease off of, can reduce your anxiety. It can also reduce their anxiety, but you also want to kind of keep it energetic. You don't want to be super loud, but you don't want to be too quiet. You want to make sure that you're a speaking tone that you would normally use, really just like your normal conversational tone. If you have a microphone, most of you are probably just going to use the microphone that's built into your computer. Totally fine. That's honestly all you need for this purpose. If you were to go on and do podcasting later on down the road, you would probably want to consider purchasing a podcast microphone. Speaking down towards the microphone is what's going to work best. You don't want that microphone so close to your face that can make it a little bit more jumbled up. So changing your vocal inflection. So it's something we do normal. If it's something we're super excited about, our voice tends to go up. If it's something that's kind of sad, our voice kind of goes down a little bit. You definitely want to have those in there so that you don't become monotone in your podcast. So if you decide to write a script, which in this case, it's probably just going to be your list of questions, you just want to make sure that you take some time, read it over beforehand, but do not write a script word for word for this podcast because you will become a robot. I can promise you. So make sure that you got your questions, but you're not reading them directly. Read over them, kind of memorize what you're going to talk about. You're looking at your notes just as like a tip of what you're going to be talking about next. So you want to avoid poor speaking habits. So if you go up really high all the time, then you've kind of done that Valley Girl talk, and it could kind of get annoying. So, but you also don't want to do like a low kind of voice the whole time because again, it could be. So the popping of the P's and T's, this is really going to become most predominant if you have that microphone. So I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. If you get too close to the microphone and you are using P's and T's and B's, they make that pop noise if you're too close to your microphone. So kind of having it a little bit back, you don't want it to be right in your face. So those are going to be your biggest things for your lecture for this week. But if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out.